It usually starts with something very small. A message comes in, a plan for dinner, a birthday, a casual invitation that other people would call nice, easy, even fun. And before anything else happens, before the guilt, before the excuse, before the reply, there's often one quiet feeling first: relief at the idea of not going. Some people really do prefer staying home, not once in a while, not just after a hard week, not only when they are tired or in a bad mood. Home feels better to them in a deeper way, and people around them do not always understand that. They read it as laziness, social awkwardness, low energy, or a lack of interest in life. But a lot of the time, that is not what is happening. Because for some people, home is not just a place. It is the only environment where their nervous system stops negotiating. Outside, even in ordinary social situations, there's often a low hum of adjustment. How loud to be, how warm to sound, when to laugh, how long to stay, whether they are being too quiet, whether they now have to explain themselves, whether leaving early will look rude. None of this has to be dramatic to be draining. In fact, for many people, the most exhausting thing is that it looks so normal from the outside. They can function perfectly well. They show up, they talk, they smile, they do what the moment requires. And that is exactly why other people misread them. If someone can perform social ease, people assume the experience must also feel easy. But those are not the same thing. There are people who leave a gathering and look completely fine, then sit in silence for 2 hours afterward just to feel like themselves again. There are people who enjoy others in small doses, but feel a strange inner tightening the longer they stay available. There are people who are not lonely, not depressed, not afraid of life. They're just more at peace when nothing is pulling on them. Home gives them something public life rarely does: completion. At home, there is no audience, even a friendly one, no soft performance, no monitoring, no constant tiny decisions about tone, timing, expression, and presence. The body can stop preparing. The mind can stop scanning. A person who seems distant in public can become surprisingly alive in private, because what looked like emotional flatness was often just management. This is one reason people who love staying home are often misunderstood. The outside world tends to respect visible appetite. People who want more plans, more activity, more contact, more movement usually look healthier, more engaged, more open. People who quietly choose less can look stalled. But less stimulation is not always less life. Sometimes it's the only amount that feels real. And there's another layer to this. For some people, staying home is not only about comfort, it's about control in the most ordinary sense. Not control over other people, control over input, over noise, over surprise, over the pace of the evening, over when the day actually ends. A lot of social life involves surrendering your rhythm to the momentum of other people. You stay later than you wanted. The conversation moves where it moves. The energy in the room decides your energy. Someone changes the plan. Someone brings another person. Someone wants one more stop. For a certain kind of person, even pleasant unpredictability can feel expensive. At home, the pace belongs to them again. This is why some people start looking happier the moment plans get canceled. It's not always because they hated the people. Sometimes it's because cancellation gives their inner world back to them. The evening opens up. Their attention unclenches. They can hear themselves again. And that matters more than people think. Some personalities are built around a deeper need for internal continuity. They don't shift states easily. They don't enter and exit social energy without friction. They need more transition time, more psychological doorways, more recovery on both ends. So what looks like a simple dinner invitation can feel internally like a whole rearrangement of self. Other people don't see that cost. They only see the decision. This is where the judgment usually enters. You need to get out more. You always stay home. You miss everything. You're wasting your life. But hidden inside a lot of those comments is a narrow idea of what a good life is supposed to look like. Busy, social, visible, externally active, easy to photograph, easy to explain. But some people don't feel most alive when they are most visible. They feel most alive when they are least interrupted. That can show up in very specific ways. They enjoy canceled plans more than completed ones. They stretch out simple private rituals and protect them like other people protect big events. Tea in the evening, a clean room, a familiar chair, a quiet walk with no conversation attached to it. The outside world sees something small. They experience something regulating. And sometimes this pattern goes even deeper than temperament. People who had to monitor the mood around them early in life often become adults who associate peace with controlled space. If home was once the only time they could exhale, or privacy was the only place they could stop adapting, then staying home later in life can carry more meaning than comfort alone. It can feel like emotional non-interference, a place where nothing is being asked from them before they even know what they feel. That doesn't mean every home-loving person is wounded. It just means this preference can come from more than one layer. Temperament, sensitivity, overstimulation, social fatigue, early adaptation, identity, routine, relief. And once you see that, the behavior changes shape. It's no longer just someone turning down plans again. It's often someone protecting the one place where they don't have to translate themselves. Of course, this preference can become too rigid. Some people are not only resting at home, they are hiding there, avoiding uncertainty so completely that life starts shrinking around them. That happens too. But people make a mistake when they assume every desire for home is avoidance. Sometimes it's not retreat, sometimes it's return. Return to a speed that feels human. Return to a space that doesn't pull a performance out of them. Return to an identity that is quieter but more intact. The strange thing is that people who love staying home are not always rejecting the world. Often they are rejecting the version of themselves the world keeps requiring. They may like people. They may care deeply. They may even enjoy meaningful connection more than the average person does. But they usually want contact without excess, presence without noise, closeness without social spillage. They're not looking for nothing. They're looking for less distortion. That's why staying home can feel so disproportionately good. It's not just rest, it's alignment. And that's the part people miss when they call it boring. To the wrong person, home looks empty. To the right person, it feels like finally being unobserved enough to exist. Maybe that's why some people protect their quiet evenings so fiercely. Not because nothing happens there, but because too much of them comes back there. What looks like a small preference can sometimes be a whole psychological border. Some people don't love staying home because they have less life in them. They love it because it's one of the few places where life stops leaking out.